Hello there. My name is Jonathan Wood. I am a software engineer, and I am reviewing some front-end topics for interviews and things like that. One property, or rather one module in CSS that has come up a couple times in interviews is CSS Flexbox. It's also a nice way to arrange elements on a page vertically, horizontally, and it allows you to even kind of wrap items using a different box model than the traditional box model. So I've taken a bit of a quote here right from the w3.org website, which is a great website. It has kind of like the Bible of CSS. But it's kind of important to read this definition. So the specification describes a CSS box model optimized for user interface design. In the Flex layout model, the children of a Flex container can be laid out in any direction. So what does that mean? So it means, in our example, let's take a look. All right, so we've got some HTML down here. Really just focus on the divs. That's the important part here. Here's our parent div. It has an ID of main, and then the children of that the children of that element would be all of the divs inside of it. Now, as you can see, it's arranged vertically, and it looks horrible, right? But what if there was a way we could kind of wrap all the items going from left to right? Or what if instead of going from left to right, we wanted to switch them and go from right to left, right? Or even change them and rotate it along the y-axis, right? Again, we can do that with CSS Flex. So we'll start by using the display property. We'll apply the display property here. I'll take out my little comment. All of these are little just HTML, CSS and HTML comments. It starts with a greater than, an exclamation, and 2 dashes. So we'll just take that one out. Nice. So now we're using display flex, right? And as you can see, it's going from left to right because it's numbering everything as you'd expect, the order in which we listed them, right? Except in this case, we're going horizontally. We're also going to play around with the main axis. Now, there are 2 axes with the Flexbox model. I'm going to link this article. It's a great article. It's called The Complete Guide to Flexbox. But let's just kind of scroll down here and take a look at these are the axes we're going to be working with for moving our elements. Again, the main axis is how we're going to align things horizontally, and the cross axis is for the vertical. Now, the main axis by default is horizontal, but you can change the direction. It's not always horizontal, right? Again, by default, it's horizontal, but we can change the direction of that main axis with a property called flex direction, which we're going to play with. Okay, let's go back to our example and just play with these things. I think that's a really good way to start. That's why I use a lot of W3 schools, and it's why we're going to be playing a bit of a game in a minute. Okay, so we've got our display property with flex. Okay, we've applied, now that is being applied to the parent container. Because the parent container contains these children, these properties are being applied. This algorithm is able to apply these properties to the children. Why don't we now, everything is already flex start. So justify content is how we will move things along the main axis. We can have everything bunched up at the left side. We can have everything centered, or we can have everything start from the right side. So let's do flex end, right? To have everything start at the end. Now, it doesn't matter in this case. We have everything bunched up, right? But if I was to maybe remove a bunch of these divs, why don't we just, yeah. All right, now you can see with justify content. So our property that we're going over here is justify content. It's a part of the CSS Flexbox module. and we have everything at the end now. So everything that is inside our container main, in this case our divs, is getting applied justify content flex end. Another one, I'm going to keep these in here. Control Z. Another one I think is really cool is wrap and row reverse. So the wrap part is kind of what flex means. Let's say we had too many items. So now we have a ton of items. Let's do flex wrap and watch what's going to happen. Now let's see what happens before I do flex, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Everything is bunched up from that left to right, right? But what if we wanted to instead have everything right, left to right, like you're writing a book, right? Or you're writing the way we write a document, right? Starts from left to right and it goes to the next line, right? If we want to be able to apply that to our elements, we're going to use flex wrap. Let's comment that. And let's see how that looks now. Okay, that would be because, let me take this out. Syntax looks fine to me. There we go. I know why. It's because we're doing flex end. Let's not do flex end. That looks terrible. Let's do flex start. All right, that looks a little bit better. So now with flex wrap, if there's not enough room, it's going to put the next one along not the main axis, but the cross axis. It's going to start going down in the cross axis direction and then going across. So we can see the differences there. Okay, so now we're going to start to use some of these properties. We're going to use justify content and align items to play a short game. I didn't really go over any of this. We read this. Good. We read the direction. We understand that Flexbox is a module with properties. We understand that it's good for reversing the order, changing the horizontal and vertical direction of elements inside a parent container. So we went over justify content, and we're going to use that now to play a bit of a game. We're also going to be using flex direction. That will be helpful to reverse the direction. We're not going to really use flex wrap, but we're going to use another one called align items. Now, align items will help us change the vertical arrangement of elements. Now, again, you can change the direction of these things. It doesn't have to be vertical, but by default it is. So let's just see what that means, all this means. So we're going to start here. Now this game is called Flexbox Defense. It's a great game. It's a great way to see the CSS you're writing and then see it being applied immediately. Having found something like this, it's fantastic. I think CSS can be very abstract. Even the examples on W3 schools can be a bit repetitive, and this is kind of a more creative way, I think, to learn something. So yeah, let's give it a shot. Okay, this one's a little bit harder. So let's look at our first tower group. We have a class called Tower Group 1, and we're applying display flex. So that's our parent. Our parent container, you can see here, is the white area that's highlighted. So, I mean, what's the first problem? Well, the first problem we can see is everything is bunched up together, right? What if there was a way we can evenly space things, right? Or just create some space around each item. Okay, so that's going to come from justify content. If we click on, that is great about this game. Can't really zoom. Oh, we can zoom in. Oops, sorry. Justify content. Again, we have flex start, right? Remember, justify content's in that main axis. So you have flex start, flex end. There we go. Space around. Evenly distributes items along the main axis such that all items have equal space around them. Again, main axis going in this direction. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. So let's go ahead, justify content. And we want to do space around, click. Did it apply? Cool. Looks pretty good. Okay, we have another issue now. This tower is called the super tower. It spins more like a, I don't know, some kind of Gatling gun. I don't even know what to call it. But it spins around. It shoots in all different directions. This one has a single shooter. This has 4. So if you can just see strategically, right, this gun, right, and this gun is going to be out of range when it fires. So where can we put this thing where it could be shooting 4 times at once? Right, okay. Give you a second there. Right, so we're going to want this one to be over here, right? Now, the question here is, how could we, make it flip everything, flip the direction? All right, so of course, maybe hopefully you answered this one. We're going to use flex direction, right? Flex direction, and we're going to do row reverse. Let's see how it looks. Not bad. All right, here we go. We've got tower group 2, display flex. Same problem here, right? We still need justify content. We need space around. We'll go space around again because that one's working out well. Now here's a little bit more of an interesting problem. So as you can see, this brown area is like the dirt where the enemy's coming in, right? So we don't, as you can see, these 2 are flashing red down here. They can't be placed here, right? So think about the main axis, right, going in this way. Think about the cross axis. The main axis, as I had said before, relates back to justify content and the way we can move it along the main axis, right? So our align items is how we're going to handle that cross direction. So think about it. Where would be the best place to place our align items? Would we want it at the start, at the end, or the center? Remember, you're thinking in this direction, right? That's right. It's going to be, hopefully you answered right. It's going to be in the center. So let's do align items. Align items. And we're going to do center. Let's see how that looks. Okay. It's, again, not really, probably not perfect. Let's do, instead of space around, let's do, there's another one. There's space around, and then there is, what's the other one here? Flex direction. So I'd mentioned space around. Oh, we could do space between. Space between is going to make an even distribution. So if we had 4 items and, you have your line, the first one's going to go at 0. The next one's going to go at 25%, 50%, 75%, end, right? If you had 2 items, right, they would be evenly spaced out. So one would be at the beginning, one would be at the end, right? So justify content. And we're going to do space around. Teacher is forgetting here. Yeah, we're going to do space between. There we go. Oh, that's weird. Okay, let's see if we can apply that. Center. And then space between. Okay, I've obviously written the wrong rule here. Space between. Okay, and then center it again. It doesn't like that. Sometimes it gets a little tricky there. There we go. You know what? I don't like that because the left side is now giving me some grief here. Yeah, I think I might have to just go with space around again. Yeah, let's do. Yeah, let's try space around. All right, let's give it a shot. Not bad. Looks pretty good. So just as a quick review, before I end this, there are obviously more properties. You can even change the order of each child that you could specify for each item inside of it. If you had a div inside of a div, let's say this was div tower 1, whatever, you could use the order property and then specify. By default, this would be 0. So you can change the order in which they're displayed, which is another cool feature. But just as a review, so we talked about CSS Flexbox. We talked about how it is a module and it is a group of properties. We talked about display flex and how it is able to horizontally and vertically arrange items in a container. We talked about justify content and how it aligns things along the main axis. We talked about how the main axis is by default horizontal, but we can change the direction of it. We can reverse the order from left to right to left. We can also use align items. Align items is going to help us in that cross direction. And again, we can center items and what else? Center items and do flex start and flex end, similar to justify content. Yeah, I would highly recommend Flexbox Defense. I'm also going to link this article on csstricks.com, and all of the documentation and citations are from W3Org, their section on Flexbox. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I encourage you to try interactive games with CSS. It's kind of addicting, and you're learning, and you're also getting frustrated and trying to destroy things. So thanks for listening. All right. Take care, everybody.